Hey, what's going on? I'm Matt O'Leary back with another video, and today I will be projecting Zach Wilson's stats for the 2021 season. Yes, the calendar has flipped to August. It's time to start projecting. We'll start with the quarterback and work our way around the team. But before we get started today, I just wanted to mention you can follow me on social media at Matt O'Leary NY. If you haven't already, please make sure to check out the Just Jets podcast wherever it is you get your podcast. And of course, don't forget that giveaway as well. The quest to 10K continues to creep along. Okay, so what I wanted to do, as I said at the top, was project what Zach Wilson will do in 2021. And sure, it's sometimes easy or fun to just pick numbers seemingly randomly, but I kind of used a formula, and I'll explain how I did it. And I adjusted slightly because I didn't think it was going to be exact, but I did use something to get this. I didn't pull these numbers out of left field. There was a method to the madness. So I'm going to explain the method to the madness and then give my final projections, at the end. So the first thing I did was look at league average for the 2020 season, or pretty damn close to league average, in attempts per game, touchdowns per game, interceptions per game, yards per game, completion percentage, and yards per attempt. So league average in all of those categories in 2021 was 32.8 in attempts per game. Touchdowns per game was 1.63. Interceptions per game, 0.6. Yards per game, 253.5. Completion percentage, 66.3. And yards per attempt at 7.3. So that's a pretty good base on what an average looking season could look like for Zach Wilson. Then, of course, when you look at what rookies do and then what this offense is going to do, I took a 3-year sample size, so 2020, 19, and 18, and looked at rookies and the 49ers quarterbacks. Okay, so first with the 3-year average on the rookies. So for these rookie quarterbacks, I used Herbert, Tua, Burrow, Murray, Minshew, Jones, Haskins from the 2019 class, and from 2018, Mayfield, Darnold, Rosen, and Allen. So those were the ones who started, a significant chunk of games in their rookie season. So those three seasons averaged out to 33.1 attempts per game, 1.39 touchdowns per game, an interceptions per game of 0.77, 221.5 yards per game, a completion percentage of 61.4, and a 6.8 yards per attempt. So obviously a little bit less than league average in most of those categories, as expected, because they're rookies. Now the next thing that I did was look at the 49ers and how their offense looked over the last 3 years. And I was kind of surprised because it was a little bit higher than I anticipated. So attempts per game in 2020 was 35.6, which was much higher than anticipated. But over the 3-year average, I'll give you that. So attempts per game, 32.9. Touchdowns per game, 1.65. Interceptions per game was high at 1.04. Yards per game was higher than I anticipated at 262.4. Completion percentage was also fairly high at 65.5. And yards per attempt was at 8, which is, again, that's a really high number. So effective quarterback play for the most part for the 49ers over the last 3 years. So my next step was I averaged out the league average in 2020, the 3-year average for the rookies, and the 3-year average for the 49ers. And this is what I came away with. 33 attempts per game, 1.56 touchdowns per game, 0.8 interceptions per game, 245.8 yards per game, 64.4 completion percentage, and 7.4 yards per attempt. A 17-game pace of that would be 560 attempts, 26 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 4,179 yards, a 64.4 completion percentage, and a 7.4 yards per attempt. Now, I'm going to adjust those numbers slightly to give you my final prediction for Zach Wilson because I don't expect him to throw 560 times this year. I think it's going to be relatively close, but 33 times a game is a slightly high. So I'm going to bring that down to 32. I know, oh my God, one pass difference, but it makes a little bit of a difference here. I'm going to say he throws for 32 attempts per game on average, which is 544 over the full season. Touchdowns per game, I'm going to bring down slightly. I'm going to put it at 1.5, which is below league average, and it's also below the 3-year 49ers average, but it's a little bit above the average for the rookie quarterbacks in the 3 sample size. So that would give you an average of 26 touchdowns. Interceptions per game, I'm also going to lower a little bit because a couple of reasons here. Now, I think he'll be above the league average just because he's a rookie. I know he put up some pretty good numbers at BYU when turning the ball over, or lack thereof turnovers in the interceptions department, which is a good thing. I would put him below the 3-year rookie average and the 3-year 49ers average. So instead of 0.8, I'm going to use 0.75. So that'll give him 13 interceptions over a 17-game season. I think that's probably a fair mark for him. Yards per game, again, the average of those three were 245, I think 0.8. I think that's a touch high. I'll lower my expectations in that regard and go 236.8. And I'm going to keep completion percentage at 64.4 and 7.4 for the yards per attempt. So final line for Zach Wilson would be a 92.5 passer rating, 26 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 4,026 yards, a 64.4 completion percentage, and a 7.4 yards per attempt. That would be one of the best quarterback seasons in New York Jets history. Yes, touchdowns are a little bit lower than the Ryan Fitzpatrick record of 31. I don't think it's necessarily fair to say, oh, Zach Wilson, you're going to go out there and put up either above league average in some of these, categories, or just in terms of Jets history. Like 7.4 is pretty solid. I expect him to be around that, even a little bit higher as he continues to progress, because he's someone who likes to get the ball down the field. 236.8 as a rookie in yards per game. Again, pretty solid. I think it's higher than the 3-year average, but it's also lower than the league average and 49ers average. I just don't think he's going to be throwing for that high of a yards per game just yet. Again, interceptions around 13 I think is probably fair, and 26 is probably fair. So I don't want to go too lofty. I don't want to also undersell. So that's how I came about with my Zach Wilson predictions. There was a little bit of math involved. There was a method to the madness. I wasn't just pulling numbers out of left field. I think this is probably a fair expectation for him in his first year, and that'd be a really good season. That would be phenomenal. I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. So let me know what you think Zach Wilson's going to do in 2021. Give me your stat line in the comments below or on social media. Thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, I am Matt O'Leary, and I'll talk to you next time.